Grandparents are originally from the Markets area. They lived in Verner Street, number 64. And from I was a child, was brought down there every single day.
My father died, Lord be good to him, and I went out and started doing a couple of markets on my own, and then started doing a few markets, and that was, I kept the tradition going actually. You might have met him and his nan. He used to walk his nan around the streets. He was a very stocky man. Wasn't all that small, but powerful shoulders on him. He was a wrestler, he was everything. And I could tell you something about his character. He was a gangster in New York and worked for Al Capone down to tax. A guy who grafted from the back of a lorry. And he was one of the best grafters I've ever seen. He was a Scotsman. And he could have sold sand to the Arabs. He was selling chalk ornaments and telling the people that they were made in Italy, the purest elf. And the minute that they lifted them by the leg, it fell off. He came in one time, and at this particular time, just shortly after the war and stuff like that there, like many, many years ago, when nylons was very, very scarce. Bundles and bundles of nylons, and everybody was, give us 7 pair of them. But this lady came back and she said, there was 3 legs in my nylons. And then this other one shouted, this one was only 2 foot high and the other one was 7 foot high. But at the present time, they are selling 3-legged nylons because in case anybody gets a letter. But I would say he was the first ever to do it. But there was more, So he had to close up, and all the punters all got round the lorry and they were shaking. So the police had to be called for, you know what I mean? You had good laughs and you had good days, Now why they called him Crack Colin was he worked at Delft. Now he was able to throw up a 21-piece dinner set and catch it before it hit his hands. He was famous at the jug. He should have been on the stage. Tell you why. As it is today, where they would go to a supermarket to buy pre-packed stuff, the older people would have bought not only fresh stuff, freshly produced stuff that they could have bought that day, and it had a better shelf life. He used to say, help yourself, lady, help yourself. And what are you selling these oranges at? I would have said, I'm going to give you, not 12, but I'm going to give you 13, the lucky number, one for yourself. So this went on, and this woman came every week, and I'm looking at the bag, and I used to say, this 13's getting bigger. So one day I checked it, and there was 16 oranges in it. And I said, ma'am, you're only supposed to take 13. She said, did you never make a mistake? And I said, yes, I married one. And the next thing I didn't know it, the wife was behind me, and she hit me with a bunch of bananas.
Mum Mullen, whenever she was up in Stormont, anytime she was ever passing the market, she always made it a point to have that whole big line of cars to stop.
There used to be a lot of people from the Shankill, the Falls, Ardoyne, all of them meet every Friday in the market to have a wee conversation. That was Protestants and Catholics. All people, and they had their days out. This particular day was Friday in the Belfast market, where they all met and had a conversation with each other. How's John? Oh, John's dead. How would I get up this week? How would I get up to put a card in? They all found a way around it in the markets because they were able to speak openly. There was nobody to intimidate them. That Belfast had a charter from the king. It was a king's charter. They just couldn't shift us anywhere they wanted unless it was through law.
In a way, it was more than just saving the building. It was saving a way of life. It was saving a community. One
thing and another came, and I was called to a meeting of the whole council in the city hall. Before I went round to see these people, and I had the letter, I showed it to that friend of mine, Robert McCartney, and he gave me a few wee tips what to say and what not to say. So when I went round to the whole council was there, right sitting there, and I went in it, and this fella from one part of the road and the other fellow was from the other part of the road, they wanted the market closed. I said, you're speaking about the Belfast market, what happened to the grant from the EEC or the EU? I'm not too sure now. That was for the benefits of the Belfast people and the public and their shopping ability to make it easier. And they looked at each other, and within 5 minutes, the meeting was closed. That Friday, I'll never forget it, two big men came round to me, and they were like big, oh, you wouldn't have seen the size of them, and they says, are you Mr. Deacon? I says, yes. He said, can we speak to you privately? I said, come into my office. My office was the wee marketman's hut. It was behind us. So I brought them in. And he said, congratulations. I said, what for? He says, you won your case, he said, because the Belfast market's going to get staying on.
Over the years, the decline, in trade, obviously these supermarkets, they're offering, huge discounts on fruit and veg, throughout the whole of the year. And sometimes even my own self, I go into into a supermarket and I walk in and I look and I say to myself, for instance, a couple of weeks ago, I was in Asda and I looked and I had these big pineapples, £1 each. And I couldn't buy them on that day for less than £1.50 wholesale. And I just thought to myself, all you people have to do in here is just put a penny on a washing powder or a penny on a bottle of fairy liquid and you get that back tenfold, but it's really hurting us, the traders, so any customers that we do have, we value.
Whenever you take the market out of a town, the heart and soul goes out of it along with it. Story of the Belfast market.